Brothers and sisters, today we reflect on words of great weight and meaning, words that have come to us from the mouth of the Holy Father, Pope Francis. These words have been collected and published in an interview book titled Life, My Story in History, a work that offers us a glimpse into the life of a man called to bear the weight of the Petrine ministry, a man who, despite adversity, has never ceased to be a loving and attentive shepherd, a spiritual guide for all of us. In this book, Pope Francis has addressed a topic that has sparked much discussion and speculation in recent years: the possibility of his resignation. Brothers and sisters, as Christians, we must approach these words with humility and reverence, understanding the weight of the ministry that the Pope carries on his shoulders. Pope Francis has reminded us all that the Petrine ministry is a lifelong commitment. The role of the Pope, the Vicar of Christ on earth, is not a task that can be lightly abandoned. It is a mission entrusted by God Himself, and like every divine mission, it is bound to God's time and will. But the Holy Father has also acknowledged human frailty, reminding us that there could come a day when, due to serious and insurmountable reasons, he might be forced to resign from the papacy. However, he reassures us that such a day has not yet arrived. Brothers, how many of us have prayed for the health of our Pope? How many of us have looked with concern at the signs of time on the face of this humble and merciful man? And yet, Francis invites us to look beyond appearances, to trust in the Lord who sustains him, for he, despite the difficulties, still has many plans to realize for the Church and the world. We cannot speak of resignation without recalling the precedent of the Emeritus Pope, Benedict XVI. Pope Francis, with great respect and affection, spoke of his predecessor, highlighting his courageous and humble decision to withdraw from active ministry for the good of the Church. However, brothers and sisters, there is a painful aspect to this story that we cannot ignore: the instrumentalization of Benedict XVI's figure by ruthless people who have used his resignation for ideological and political purposes. In these words of Pope Francis, we see a warning for all of us. How often, even in our small ways, have we used or manipulated situations for our own gain? How often have we looked at events with eyes full of selfishness, forgetting that the Church is a community founded on love, communion, and mutual trust? The instrumentalization of Benedict XVI's figure is a grave sin against the unity of the Church, an attempt to sow discord and division among the faithful. Pope Francis also warns us of another reality that, unfortunately, is present in the Church: the temptation of power. He spoke clearly about how some, in times of difficulty, have speculated about his health, perhaps eagerly awaiting his death to influence a new conclave. Brothers and sisters, these words should make us deeply reflect. The Church is not an arena of political power, but a community of faith, love, and service. And yet, even among us, the desire for power, personal ambition, the will to rise at the expense of others can creep in. But the Pope also offers us hope, reminding us that, despite these temptations, the Church is guided by the Holy Spirit. Francis has never seriously considered resigning, not because he is attached to power, but because he knows that his mission is still unfinished. And he invites us to look to the future with confidence, not to be discouraged by difficulties, but to continue working for the building of God's kingdom. In all this, brothers and sisters, the importance of prayer emerges. Pope Francis reminds us that prayer is the source of our strength. It is through prayer that the Pope and each one of us can find the strength to face life's challenges. Prayer unites us, makes us a community, allows us to see beyond our differences and to work together for the common good. Francis also emphasized that, in the unlikely event that he should resign from the papacy, he would return to being a confessor and bringing communion to the sick, These words are a powerful reminder of the true essence of the priestly ministry: to serve. The Pope, even as emeritus, would never cease to be a shepherd, a servant of God and his people. This should be our model of Christian life, not to seek power or prestige, but to always be ready to serve, to give our time and energy for others. Brothers and sisters, as we reflect on these words of Pope Francis, we are called to renew our commitment to faith and service. We are called to remain united in prayer, to resist the temptation of division, and to work together for the good of the Church and the world. We must pray for our Pope, that the Lord may continue to give him strength and wisdom to guide the Church in these difficult times. But we must also pray for ourselves, that we may be instruments of peace and unity, that we may resist the temptation of power and selfishness, and live our Christian vocation to the fullest. May the Lord help us to see in Pope Francis an example of faith, humility, and service, and may we, following his example, become authentic witnesses of Christ's love in the world. Brothers and sisters, may these words inspire us to deeply reflect on our journey of faith. Let us not be discouraged by difficulties, but trust in the Lord, knowing that, as Pope Francis has taught us, even in the most difficult moments, our mission is never completed until God wills it. Let us continue to walk together in unity and love, under the guidance of our Shepherd, to build a church that is ever more faithful to the gospel and ever closer to the needs of humanity. Now let us know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. May the light of the Lord illuminate our path.